Hey, welcome to the Chronicle YouTube channel. I'm your host, Busta Brown, and I am here with the beautiful Dr. Shawn Ricks. How are you?
I'm well, Busta.
Good. You're looking good in the pink.
Thank you, thank you.
I overheard you say you normally never wear.
Yeah, I normally don't. I did this just for you, so now you outed me, so thank you. Thank you so much.
You don't dig bright colors?
Typically, I don't.
Right.
Black, gray, and brown, but
Right.
I said, let me try something different today.
Why black, gray, and brown? Because everything is mental.
Because I can get dressed really quickly. I'm typically very low maintenance.
Okay.
So I'm going to get up, put something on, roll out.
Wow.
So,
Dr. Ricks, low maintenance.
So, well, yeah. Might check with my husband about that, but I like to think that I am. So, yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Because I noticed even with, like with children that have mental issues, they'll say certain colors can trigger their moods and different things like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, there's lots of research around color therapy, and you'll notice even the space that we're in has that kind of light blue kind of hue, and so yes, but red can be aggressive, can make people feel a little more aggressive.
Right.
Of course, the power suits, they tell you wear blue, etc. But if you're trying to calm someone down, you want like a nice light blue, a nice light gray. Something that'll make them think of water, sky, ocean.
Oh, so that's why those colors work.
Nice and peaceful. Yeah.
Bright colors get me in a good mood.
Yeah, they excite another part of your brain, which is why when spring comes, you see a lot of them, and people are happy and whistling. Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of. Don't mean to jump into this, but man, there's been a lot of suicides with celebrities. I mean, a lot.
Yes.
Recently, Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade,
Yes.
and I don't know Kate Spade that much, but I watch Anthony Bourdain on a regular basis.
Right.
We watch him because he lifts us up.
Yes.
His spirit and his personality is amazing.
Right.
This very popular DJ that had a great personality also, killed himself.
Oh.
Got, a couple of rock and roll stars. I mean, actors and actresses, and it's going on and on and on.
Yes.
What do you think is going on? What is the main need here with this mental health situations that we're dealing with?
As it relates to celebrities, or those two in particular, I think were so shocking for people because people like to think, number one, celebrities have it all. So, and one of the things that we've tricked ourselves into believing is this "when I get there" kind of thing, right? So, when I lose 10 pounds, when the baby graduates from school, when I get this job, when I, buy my new car, then I'll be happy, and then And we look at celebrities and we think they have everything that we told ourselves would give us complete joy. And so I think in part that's why it's so shocking. I think people took Anthony Bourdain's even harder because he was in the job of lifting people up.
He sure was.
But you think about Robin, what's the comedian? Williams.
Yeah.
Robin Williams. But a lot of people who project this outer joy sometimes are still battling with their own, inner stuff.
Inner demon. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, what is the main need? As people who have kids and spouses and things like that, what are the main needs we need to equip ourselves with to be aware that this is happening?
Right, and this is such a tricky question.
Okay.
Because you can Google or whatever, a whole bunch of suicide, warning signs. And there are some typical ones, right? Like people showing less interest in doing things, secluding themselves. Sometimes people would give things away. Like there's some obvious ones, but there are also sometimes, which is with a case which I think both Kate Spade and Anthony Bourdain, where people were like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And they say, okay, bye. And I just saw him, he was great, we had dinner, it was wonderful. So it's the whole range of, the most we can do is be aware, but even with awareness, there's no way to really ever kind of stop someone who would like to commit suicide.
Is that right?
That's correct. And that's one of the myths, is that if you talk about it, you're going to plant it in someone's mind. I'd rather you talk about it, because if someone wants to do it, they're going to do it. You're not going to convince them to do, you're not going to be like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. No, that's... One of the things.
So the blame thing has got to stop.
Absolutely.
So when we blame ourselves, I should have been more. No. I could have been this, more of this. Someone wants to
commit suicide, they're going to commit suicide.
Right. Why can't we help them?
Well, to them, it's a coping mechanism.
Okay.
And
one
of the reasons we reach out to professionals is when we run out of, tools in our tool bag on how to deal with things, right? Like when I've talked to my mama and my grandmother and my hairstylist and I don't know what else to do, you have to expand that circle, including maybe a mental health professional, to get more tools to how do I figure this out? Like, how do I work through this? Just like you do as much as you can with like your car or whatever, and you say, you know what, a carburetor's out of my wheelhouse. I got to take it to someone who can help me with that. We just don't chuck the whole thing. But sometimes when we're working through ourselves, are afraid to reach out, or, you figure we're supposed to feel the way we're supposed to feel, I guess. I'm not sure.
So when we notice that something is going on with someone we love, the best thing to do is get them professional help, because there's nothing we can do.
Absolutely. Okay, we can support them. We can talk to them, let them know that we're here for you. I think the biggest thing that we could do would be non-judgmental. I'm a big fan of just kind of, hey, whatever you're going through, if you want to talk, if you don't want to talk, if you want to eat ice cream all day, or you're doing a fast, like whatever, judgment free, because people are already beating themselves up. Right. We have an average of 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's a thought every second and a half. And most of them are not really pretty thoughts. Like a lot of times we're critiquing ourselves, beating ourselves up. We're so harsh on ourselves that the most that we can do as people who are supporting folks who we think are struggling is at least offer some loving compassion.
Now, can we mix up someone being shy or an introvert as someone having issues, and can we mix that up as a sign?
That's a really good question, because as an extrovert, I've used to be really wanting people, like, if they're not talking, I wonder what's wrong. And especially when you talk about teenagers, this population, we're not sure, are they spending too much time alone? Should I make them come out? There's a real fine balance there. I think for us, one of the things we could do along that is to kind of, your children or whoever that you're in contact with the best. So still allowing them to individuate, to go through typical teenage stages, but being mindful if you think it's going, too far one way or too far another way. Certainly there are other ways to allow introverts to communicate as well. We have some folks who'll just use like a little tablet, like a family tablet, like you can write in it, leave it somewhere, and they can write in it and leave it, and you can write back, so, because introverts need to process as well. They need to think about it, and sometimes we start asking them questions like, well, tell me what's going on, and why are you sad, and what can I do? And number one, they're introverts, so they need to process it. Number two, they have a teenage brain. Number three, they really don't know.
Right.
Like when I'm in a funk, I try to pull myself out, but typically no one can come in and pull me. I had to figure out, now, what can I do?
And the pulling push you.
Sometimes
away.
It can.
Right.
Like, come on, everybody, we need you to come on, feel better. Hey, look. Because sometimes you need to, and that's another really good point around these thoughts. One of the things that happens too is we get scared of being sad or et cetera. Like we don't want people to experience any of that. There's a range of emotions for a purpose. We have a full range. So not being afraid necessarily of being sad for a day or morning or whatever it is. There's an old saying that says, let your emotions come and go, just don't serve them tea. So they can come in and you say, oh, this is sadness, I remember this. And then it won't stay as long. When we ignore it, we almost repress. It's like a little kid, like they're like, hey, look at me, hey.
Right.
And when you, ignore them, they just like, hey. But when you look, they're like, okay. So you just say, oh, okay.
That's my 5-year-old.
Right.
God, that's Nate.
You say, oh, this is sadness. I reckon it'll come. And in most cases, it will go if it's not clinical depression.
Let natural order take its place.
Yes.
And we're not doing that enough. I'm glad you shared that.
We want to be in a state of joy. We want to be happy, and you're not feeling good. You should feel good, and you should feel better now, and you should do this. And, and sometimes you just need to kind of be like, it's an off day.
Dr. Ricks, help us understand, because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Not as easy to do. Right. So explain to us, if this makes sense, what is normalized chaos? So that we can know what to look for. Yeah. Be normal in this chaos.
Well, I came up with this concept of normalized chaos primarily dealing with a lot of the women that I see who started telling me all the things that they had to do. You know, I had to get up at 4:30, I make 5 lunches, and I had to walk the dog, and then I got to go see about my grandfather, then I iron, right? And it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm exhausted. Like, you've done, and then they said, then I go to my second job, then I got to go take, you know, but what really is a chaotic existence,
right?
They've said, this is normal. This is what I'm supposed to do. And they just said, but you know, we, primarily women, and we're raised with kind of this, and I can't speak for men, this thing of like, somebody's got to do it, you know, like, you know, yeah, there's a lot to get done, but someone's got to do it.
Right.
And I don't have an answer for that piece, you know, on who's going to do everything, but I do know the more we just say like, this is it, and I got to do it, and that kind of trickles into like this martyr syndrome where, you know, I'm doing everything for everyone, and I'm falling on all these swords, and then I'm wondering how come no one is coming behind me, you know, cleaning up, but I keep throwing a sword out, falling on it, throwing a sword out, falling on it. So part of what I'm trying to get out is this understanding of how we can maybe rework the way we think about some of the things we have to do into some choices and some delegation or something that doesn't feel like every day is just like, oh my God.
And do you find that women fall into that category more than
I
men?
see it a lot with women, but I will say I do see it in a few men because what we're talking about, you know, with kind of, I'm a big believer in kind of male and female energies, and really kind of gender fluidity is coming down the pipe with these young folks that I work with. But I do see it with some men who are pretty, who just, you know, very nurturing and very caring and just say, well, you know, I just did what had to be done, and I did this and it had to be done, and I did this and it had to be done. And then they also start feeling kind of like,
I can get that.
Yeah.
That leads me into something that is very interesting, and I know this is going to be talked about a lot when people see this interview. Okay. So please share the no mask, the no cape.
Okay.
No mask, no cape.
No mask, no cape.
Because that falls right in line with what you were just saying.
It absolutely does. So part of what I'm launching is this kind of no mask, you know, no cape campaign, where I'm really asking people to just try to live authentically for a little while. What I see, from what I see out in the real world, let's say, quote unquote, and what I see behind my doors are typically two different people. And sometimes it's even me, right? Like, I'm here, but you know, 6 hours ago, I was kind of like, oh my God, what we do? And I'm hungry, and I, you know, whatever. And then this time, it's like, okay, mask on, time cape, let me, you know, go out and get some things done, you know. And it all ties into this kind of like strong woman, strong black woman myth, this superwoman myth, this, you know, I can carry all these bags and the baby and, you know, like we're a Sherpa for the world. Like, it's just literally killing us.
You see that a lot in church too.
Lord Jesus. They're going to get it done. But a lot of research will support, and we've done some research around this as well, that mental health and physical health, number one, are tied together. Number two, Black women in particular, our bodies are going through a process called weathering, which a researcher found, which means literally our bodies wear down faster than other groups, in part because chronic stress, you know, it's like keeping a car running all the time, you know, and if you don't turn off a car, you know, it's going to burn out a lot faster than the one that you turn off, cover up, put in the garage, on your job on the weekends, whatever. Like, we're always going. So this kind of weathering with our bodies, you know, weighing down, and the mental pressures that we put on ourselves as well, really, I mean, literally, we lead all of the charts and health disparities, all of them.
Wow.
Still, you know, obesity, still, you know, heart disease, still... and that all that is regardless of socioeconomic status. So, you know, it has something to do with, that's a whole nother issue around epigenetics, which is this concept of, you know, the stress and the trauma that we live with and deal with, we literally pass that on to our children. That also means, though, it was passed on to us. Right. So if you think that we're only a couple generations from, you know, Jim Crow, from slavery, from some other really stressful conditions, you know, unless we mitigate those things, which we can do, primarily through breathing techniques and a few other things, our bodies are always ready to go. So
what do you suggest to those that are watching as far as the breathing techniques? Because I hear about that a lot.
Yes, right. And so
someone right now watching, once they finish watching this interview and they're stressed and say, oh my gosh, what can I do right now?
I love that question. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing because when I first heard about breathing techniques, I was like, what the breathing? I breathe all the time,
right.
you know, but when I found out the science behind it, I was completely hooked. So when we feel like we're in a crisis, in the back of our brain is our amygdala, and it goes into, which I'm sure most people have heard of, fight versus flight. Now they added freeze too. You got to figure out, what am I going to do? But the only way to reach the amygdala to say, hey, I'm safe, because we've told it there's a threat with our mind. When we perceive there's a threat, our mind, you know, it says, okay, we got to do something. And a threat could be like, oh my gosh, I got to make an A on this exam, or oh my goodness, you know, I don't know how I'm going to make dinner for 10 people, whatever it is. So they're not always the same type of threats that we used to experience that we would have needed a shot of adrenaline for and that cortisol for. But breathing through the nose and out through the nose reaches the amygdala and says, you're safe. So what I would recommend anyway, and that's where kind of like aromatherapy came from, or when you go to like your grandma's house and you smell something, you're like, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so.
Right.
The olfactory glands go straight to the amygdala. So my recommendation, if someone wants something they could do, like I do this standing in the store, is just that, like in and then out. In the nose and out the nose.
And that's something.
And you actually feel, and it's got to be a nice, you know, deep breath, but you'll feel more relaxed. And you can do that, you know, I'm sitting in line somewhere, you know, whatever. Anytime you're trying to reset, that's something that you can do.
So that helps take off that cape and that mask.
It really can, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And you're saying to women, take that mask, take that cape off. You're not Superwoman.
Yes.
It's okay not to be Superwoman.
Absolutely.
It's okay to say,
I think we
I
would
can't
feel
do it
better
all.
if we all agree that, you know, at times we are vulnerable, you know, and at times we are, you know, we're not at we're feeling a little less than quote unquote perfect.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And so this is the new narrative I'd like to start. It's okay to not be okay.
Right.
That's fine.
Right.
As opposed to this, you know, like you got to just keep pushing, you got to keep going, you just got to make it happen, figure out a way, et cetera, et cetera. And we often do, but the fallout of that, which is what I see, you know, is pretty high. So, you know, even when we talk about graduation rates, there was a lot of emphasis on Black males graduating, let's just say high school, but even maybe from college. And, you know, my kind of spin on that has long been, I see a lot of more Black women graduating, but man, by the time they graduate, they look like they have been through, you know, the mental pressures they put themselves under, you know, particularly is trying to balance everything and work full time, and I'm going to take night classes, and I'm going to be up till 2 a.m.
I know a lot of women that do that. Wow.
It's a lot to balance.
Wow.
And I had a baby in college, so I realized by the time I got done, I was exhausted. So it takes its toll on us, right? But, you know, I graduated. I literally got a college degree out of spite. I got a spite degree. I said, my now husband is going to finish.
Right. I'm gonna finish. Right.
Although I'm not. I like to say I'm not as spiteful now, but it was my motivation at times. Like, and again, the Superwoman thing. Like, I can't stop. I got to keep going. You know, what am I going to do? Got to finish.
It's a young lady I worked with. I'll never forget it. I didn't directly work with her. She used to do a lot of the maintenance work around the building, and I saw her one day falling out. She was like dozing. I'm like, wow, you do that a lot. She said, I take classes at night. I don't get to bed till like close to 4 a.m. and I have to be up by 6 and then do this all day. She said, I already have a degree in blank, blank, blank. So now I'm trying to get my degree in blank, blank, blank.
Right.
And I'm like, for what are you doing all of this for? Yes. And there was really no answer.
Right.
Why do women feel the need to accomplish so much?
Well, that's another really good question. Right. It's a really neat little article I read not too long ago that talks about really being busy, in particular for Black women, as not only as a distraction, but as a atypical sign of depression. And so sometimes we don't get diagnosed with depression when we go in to see just our primary care physician because they're looking for kind of certain things, but and this other research that was done, one of them was just kind of this like, being always going, or shopping and, a whole bunch of things that typically people wouldn't consider necessarily depression. But we do that a lot because in the stillness, there can be a lot of fear, right? Because if I'm quiet, we talked about all those thoughts. So now what do I do with those thoughts? Because I haven't learned what to do with them. So I just do something else. I just swap out busyness, right? I got a degree, let me get another degree. I got that one, okay, let me get a license. I got a license, let me get a job. I got a job, let me volunteer at the church. Volunteer at the church, let me, go mentor a kid. I'm doing that, but still no time just to be. Like no time where we just say that it's okay. Like do an experiment. I want you to call somebody and you ask them what they're doing, they're going to tell you they're doing something.
Wow.
I don't recall calling someone where they're just like chilling, like absolutely nothing, like not watching TV, not reading. If you ask somebody, what you're doing, and if they're not, they're going to like drum up a few things, almost out of guilt, right? Well, I was just taking a break, and then I was going to go do whatever.
If they're not doing something,
right.
Wow,
People
and that's something.
Feel guilty about it, right?
If they're not doing something,
exactly.
Because if these women slow down, they have to face themselves,
exactly,
and that's a scary thought.
It's very scary
because most people are not happy with what they're.
Right.
Wow, that is so deep.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that mask and cape.
Yes.
These are these mask and cape type people.
Absolutely.
Anthony Bourdain, maybe Kate Spade,
absolutely,
who was the handbag designer
right.
that took her life most recently. Is why we brought that up. That's these mask and cape people.
Right.
Busta Brown. I'd be on my way to the radio station in the worst mood ever. I mean, wondering how did I do this? How did I get myself in this?
Right.
All this time you spend in radio. Where's your money to show? I mean, just certain things.
Right.
I didn't start my band. Just all the stuff. Right. And man, I get into that DJ booth. I push that mic, mask, cape. I could fly.
Right.
You would never know. And I never forget, I had so many people in my career ask me, are you ever unhappy? And I'm like, I didn't know what, because I wanted to say, yeah, I'm normal just like you. But I'm thinking, people count on me.
Yes.
And I wonder what it would feel like if Busta Brown were to say, man, I get depressed too.
Right.
And because I'm like, I am giving them, inspiration to say, look, if this dude can get through it, I can get through it.
Right.
I've had people tell me that it's because of my show, they didn't commit suicide.
Wow.
Because of certain things. I've talked about suicide and I said some little silly stuff about it. And I remember at the very end, I said that, can you imagine if you did go to heaven or something like that, but right in the middle of whatever the heaven place is, you get to see what you could have been. And imagine if all that you went through was for this grand prize, like everybody say, that sometimes you got to go through to get through it. It's just how you choose to get through it. Right. And then you find out you could have had a great life.
Right.
I say, so let's just do this. If you're out there thinking about committing suicide, let's stick around because God may have something fantastic. Let's not miss that. So I'm going to stick around with me and let's see what God has for us. Right. She said, when I said that, she decided to live.
Oh, wow.
She was in Walmart. Said, I never thought I'd meet you. And I was ready to do it because it's up with her mom and her sister, and she's probably watching this too. She said, I thought I'd never get a chance to meet him until he saved my life.
Oh, wow.
She said, I thought to myself, I'm going to kill myself today. But I'm going to give Busta one shot here. I never met her. She said, I'm going to turn him on and see if he's saying something positive. Because he always got something positive to say. Let me give him a shot. She said, as soon as she turned it on, I was saying that. I brought that up to say, that was the worst day of my life.
Oh, wow.
The day I said that was the worst day of my life. I had some of the worst newses.
Right.
Not news.
Right.
Newses.
Yes.
And
we'll allow it.
I was about to quit. And it was the worst day of my life.
Wow.
When I saved her life.
And that divine,
Isn't that something?
Yeah, that divine timing.
So I had to cape and pass.
Right.
And for too long. And I think it is really taking its toll on me. And I never realized what it was till you said Kate and mask.
Yes.
So that really helped me a lot. So,
good.
So I really appreciate that.
I'll send you an invoice.
You do that.
Yeah, I ain't gonna pay it.
Yeah, I ain't gonna pay it. Dr. Ricks, let's get into this. The Black community in mental health.
Yes.
We're embarrassed. Why is it such a taboo conversation subject that I'm not crazy? I don't need to go to some mental therapist. I'm good. All I have to do is eat right and work out. I read, go to my pastor. I mean, pastor helps, but why are we so embarrassed about mental health?
Well, I think it probably goes back generations to when I was raised. We didn't air our dirty laundry, quote unquote, right? Anything happening in that house, if we ain't got no food, you better go outside and tell everybody you full, right? Like we are not going to be, so everything kind of stayed within the house because it was going to get around, et cetera, right? And so that, we're shifting with that a little bit, but there's still this stigma that something has to be wrong. You're going to see somebody, I ain't crazy, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been toying with this other notion of, the power of and, right? So we were talking off camera, and I've been married for 25 years. And in that time, I've had a good relationship, and there's plenty we could work on, right? So it doesn't have to be that something's wrong. So individually, we could say, I'm feeling pretty good, and I know there's maybe more that I could, richer experience I could have, or something, a coping mechanism I don't know, or I just feel like I'm not feeling that kind of joy. And that's really my goal with folks, right? Is that we really shouldn't have to be anything or be doing anything. If you didn't do anything else the rest of your life but sit like literally in this room, right, I still would hope that you would find joy, right? Just because all that is inside, that's something we have to learn to tap into. It's not in the, in the getting and the being and the titles and any of that stuff. Doesn't bring us that. Again, going back to the celebrity, suicides, those don't do it. But in the Black community, we have really, I think,
I see where you're going,
convinced ourselves a little bit that, it's something has to be wrong, and I'm not crazy. And so if there's, anything that we could do to help people reach out, it would be to continue trying to remove the stigma around mental health, and wellness. I mean, as I say, people go get their eyes checked and a physical, those who can, at least once a year, if we have insurance, et cetera. Mental health is no different. It's, it's a part of our body. It needs to be kind of
the main
tended to, right? Everything starts in the mind.
Yes.
So it needs to be kind of, tended to. And so, and even if it's just like a women's group that just kind of hangs out. I mean, we need to find spaces where people can feel that they don't have to mask up and cape up. They can just come in and say, hey, I'm going through this, you're going through that, and let's all, figure it out, together and support each other.
How often should we try to see someone?
Well, if you're in crisis, we typically recommend seeing someone as soon as possible, and then weekly at least, sometimes, twice a week. But then kind of like if you've ever started like a workout routine with a trainer or something, after a while, you know what you're doing a little bit. So we go down to maybe every other week, sometimes monthly, Okay. I see my person probably quarterly now, and it's actually
because things are going good.
Right. But between you and me, it's probably time, right?
Right.
Because that fuel gauge, one of the things I ask people to look for is to recognize when you're starting to run out of gas before you get to empty. Because when we get to empty, that's when we just crash. Right. So even if you see someone, ahead of time, I can help, they can help you identify when you feel like, oh, the car is running a little sluggish. Oh, these are my warning signs, right? And then this is the important part. Where and how do I refuel? Most of us haven't figured out what that looks like. So we're driving and driving and driving and driving and driving, and we just get lower and lower and lower, and we have not figured out what we do that fills us back up. And if we can figure that out, then people, can go out and kind of do maintenance, you know?
And that's where that mental health comes in.
That's where that mental health, right. Let's figure out what's going on, any root causes, and then how you fill yourself up. What do you need to do on a daily basis that and it could just be breathing. It could be affirmations. I have a wonderful affirmations group. I text a group of women in the morning, just something, whatever. And I mostly do it for me. And it's just kind of, to keep me right, like, right. I can do it. I am loved, right? But as I text it, I have to hear, I have to
right.
say it. Right. But that's kind of, taken off, and that can be refilling
right.
for people. But something, whatever it is, it'll be different for different
right.
people. But,
wow. I hear you clearly earlier when you talk about the power of silence. Mm-hmm. If you can silence that brain, you can hear a message from God,
yes.
and you can hear and find out who you truly are.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to silence that brain, the breathing.
Right.
What do you call this thing?
Amygdala.
The amygdala. And what does the amygdala do?
That's the part that, again, keeps us safe. The part
that
tells us, right?
Tells the brain that you're safe.
Like you should need to do this, or you need to run, or here's some adrenaline, you're going to have to fight a tiger. But it's the same thing that if we tell it, oh, I'm under pressure, it sends out, it doesn't know from a tiger versus what we perceive to be stress.
Right.
It doesn't know the difference.
So all that.
It's all here, and we have to control it and say, oh, okay, I'm safe.
Right.
In this moment, I'm safe. In this moment, I'm safe. In this moment, I'm safe.
And as people watching this, you can see how important it is to seek mental health. Yeah. It's a conversation that must be had.
Absolutely.
As an individual, it's a conversation you must have with somebody professional. With all these school shootings going on in the world.
More trauma.
As we wrap up, what's going on in the mind of someone that want to take so many people out?
Oh wow, that's a tough one.
I know that is.
Yeah,
but, based on your professional years in this,
yes.
What have you experienced or seen that caused someone to do something like that?
And to have someone to do something that severe, you're either looking at either some type of severe mental illness, right? Okay. So there's mental health and wellness, and that's just kind of, depression and anxiety and little things. Then there's more severe mental illnesses that typically would drive someone to say, I need to go do something this horrific, really. And that could be anything from, schizophrenia, it could be anything from, a major depressive disorder could do that. It just kind of depends. And sometimes it has to be like the perfect things, that all come together like a perfect storm. They were bullied and they had the severe disorder and, they had access to whatever and there was neglect. It just could be it's a really complex answer.
Now, this is pretty heavy. It goes back to, does this go back to what you said? A lot of people use suicide as a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. Although it's a permanent coping mechanism,
right?
Do these people that do the school shootings, is that somewhat of a coping mechanism for them?
Well, for them, it could be their way out. I don't know if you've heard of suicide by cop, where people will, when they want to die,
they'll test the police out.
Right,
okay.
But they don't want to kill themselves per se.
Right.
But in some of these situations, they'll let the police, kill them, or they'll kill themselves, and and then go. But to me, that's a really a severe level of someone who's really tormented, who has to do something kind of that extreme. And I think there's societal levels to that, right? How we desensitize violence and how there's whole again layers with that as well.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So depression can be hereditary.
It can
because of mental illness.
Yes. Depression can there can be a hereditary component to that, just like any other disease. But sometimes that also comes with what we've observed in our environment. So one of the things about the brain that I love, which is I think why I love this work, is that anything that we have learned, we can unlearn and learn something different. And that whole concept is called neuroplasticity. Like your brain, because we like to think, like, this is just how I am, this is how I think, this is what I do, or this is what my parents did, or whatever. But anything that we've learned, we can retrain it, we can But it takes two main things, intention and attention. We have to intentionally think about it. You know, what do I want to do? And then we have to pay attention to what we do to follow up.
To retrain that brain.
Exactly.
Silence those thoughts, folks.
Yes. And if they come, then follow them up with a positive thought.
That's
right?
it.
So,
all right. How do someone reach you, Dr. Ricks?
They can check me out on my website, which is drshawnricks.com. Email at info@drshawnricks.com, or they can call me at 336-937-8883.
You know, something very encouraging to someone that's watching to come visit you is you said, my people are down quarterly.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal,
yes.
right? Mm-hmm. And what that says to me is that you care enough to say, hey, you good.
Oh, yeah.
You can get down to quarterly. I don't have to try to take your money.
No.
If you're good, I'm letting you know you're good.
Right.
And that's fantastic, Dr.
Yes,
Ricks.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing the and concept with us, the no mask, no cape concept with us, that, hey, look, things are great and it can be better. And it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All my main messages. This is awesome.
That's good stuff. Oh, yeah, because I listen.
Oh, good job.
Yeah, you know, the greatest communication skill is the ability to listen.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ricks.
Thank you.
Yes. See you soon.